Hey everyone, my name is Raelan. I have another really inspiring, really amazing CFS full recovery story for you today. I'm here with Chris Jamieson. He had a long journey with this and been incredibly unwell and a lot of setbacks like most of us go through and has kind of been to hell and back, but he is now back working full time and literally running marathons. So I'm so excited to talk to you today, Chris. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Raelan. Looking forward to speaking and sharing my story with your audience, and looking forward to telling you a bit about my story.
Yeah, I've been excited. I follow you on social media, obviously, and I've seen a bit of, everything that you've been sharing, and it's all just very inspiring. So I'm very honored that you're taking the time to do this and share your story on my channel as well, because I know you've shared it some other places. So thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. Looking back, I just want to give back and just hopefully help anyone who was going through that nightmare of ME/CFS, and just trying to do my bit just to try and help their journeys a little bit better, and let them know as well that recovery is possible.
It's incredible. I'm so grateful to all of the people like yourself who are doing this.
Yeah, and likewise with you and Liz and all like that as well. With your videos,
Yeah,
they're
it's
amazing.
just, I think it's, I've said many times, but when you've been through this hell and you find a way to get out and you see all these other people that are still trapped there, it's just not that we can save anybody else. It's up to everybody else to find their own path out of this. But it's like anything I can do to contribute a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. So do you want me to tell you my bit of the
Sure.
background
Before we
story
jump in,
then?
why don't you tell everybody, for those people who don't know, where you are in the world?
Yeah, so I'm in Melbourne, Australia, city which has been in lockdown the most out of the whole world, and today is our first day of, well, it's sort of semi called Freedom Day. So schools are going back today, and pubs are opening up with limited capacities. So yeah, so I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'm just turned 40 years old, and I've been recovered from ME/CFS for now for over 1 year. I'm a school teacher, and as well as I'd like to give back after everything that I've been through, and I don't want people to experience that heartbreak as much as like what I went through or what you went through. So I'm giving back as well and doing one-to-one coaching, and I'm really loving it. And there's nothing better than seeing people slowly get that back their lives together, and such a rewarding job.
Incredible. So why don't you take us back? How did this all start? Or what
Yeah,
was life like
so
before it started?
yeah, life was pretty hectic before I got unwell. Just your typical type A person. Number one, I was partying very hard on the weekend. So I'm from Australia, and we've got a bit of a culture of like playing sports, say on a Saturday, and then Saturday afternoon, either I played AFL, or which is a bit like gridiron, or American football, and cricket in the summer, which is a little bit like baseball. And after the game, then we'd just party on for like 24 hours straight, just a big massive binge. And I was in that cycle of lifestyle for a good probably 17 years, from probably 17 to 35. I was also running marathons probably about 3 times a year, and I was mainly just doing them just to try and chill out for a couple of weekends prior to the marathon, and then it'd just be one big party after completing the marathon. Um, I was also I had a as a school teacher, I had an awesome job and I loved it, but it can be demanding as well, like any job. And yeah, I was just burning the candle at both ends. And then the year which I actually got well, where I came down with a classic flu virus, it had been quite a tough year for me. I think I'd been backpacking around Southeast Asia, and the year started off, and I came home with a really bad tummy bug. And after that, only a couple of weeks later, my best mate passed away, and then a few other little bits and pieces weren't. I don't think I was really, for the first time in my life, I suppose I started to see that I wasn't able to control my emotions too well, and I think, yes, the writing was sort of on the wall, because my nervous system was starting to feel a little bit rattled, and then eventually I got that virus at the end of 2016, and I was never able to recover from that virus. I still remember the date clearly. It was November the 3rd, 2016, and I was at my house at that time, and I remember just coming down the stairs, and I just had this head which was absolutely pounding, and it felt like someone was. The headaches were so intense, and I just felt like someone was hitting with me with a baseball bat in the head every second. Yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. And that first year of recovery, or first probably 18 months, was just being in no man's land of just not knowing what to do, wasn't getting much advice. I was sort of following the Western medical system of recovery, and yeah, the advice I was getting to there was probably making me feel worse. And yeah, it was just a nightmare, and it was such a confusion. But looking back, that was part of my journey to get to where I was today. So I think I have to allow yourself to go through that sort of tough work to get to where I am. So I don't regret it, and I held a lot of grudges as well for a while for like the medical system which I'd gone through, and all the health professionals who would at that stage, so say like your physio and your psychologist and my integrative doctor and all like that, who were just endless information about the not so much knowledge about the illness, and just an endless of just a merry-go-round of just getting this test and that test. And I just would, part of just forgiving them and all like that was part of then moving forwards, and then me taking ownership for my own health. So probably about 18 months into the illness, I went, right, well, everything that I've done now hasn't worked, and I'm now going to take ownership of my own health, and I'm going to have to become my own doctor, because these experts aren't giving me, if anything, their advice is making me worse. So I'm going to take ownership for my own health.
So what were some of the things that you tried or you were told that didn't help?
So one of the things that I did try, like I was getting B12 shots and vitamin C infusions, and I tried every single diet there was, and a psychologist telling me I had years and years of therapy ahead of me to recover. And because I did have a good lifestyle before, and it was fun, but I got up to a lot of cheeky stuff and all like that, and there was a little bit of heartache here and there. So there was a bit of a backlog, a catalogue of turmoil in my life as well. So vitamin C, I tried every single diet there was, bone broth fast, but the worst was just the information from the integrity GP, such as like going to work, telling me to go to work because that will help me with my mental health. Like, I understand where he was coming from, but I was in no position of going to work. And just stuff like, I also saw things like healers and stuff like that, and I was just desperate to get better, and them getting me to like hum stuff and to try and to move bad energy from me. And look, my body was so far gone that this wasn't the recipe for getting me better. I had to do, looking back, I had to do all the hard work myself. No one was going to do it for me. So then probably about the 18 months, I took ownership for my health, and then I joined the Toby Morrison CFS Health program, which was really good, and it got things moving in the right direction. It was like, all right, bang, this is sort of like I wanted to hear, because everything, which all the other information from all the other specialists didn't really align with me. And I suppose it just gave me a good, thorough understanding of the illness. The other thing as well is, which happens with most people with the illness, is just the endless Google searches and the Facebook groups and all like that as well, which I was on for those first 18 months. And, everyone has their right to vent and all like that. And, I really do feel for the people going through this. I understand what they're going through, but they can be a little bit negative. And I suppose once the day that I joined the CFS Health program, I said, like, bang, I'm just going to take on board all the information from this program and just block out all the other endless chatter. And that was very good and gave me a good understanding, and it was the right steps forward. I wouldn't say it happened overnight, but there were some golden nuggets in that program, which, I still use in my everyday, which are ingrained in my everyday lifestyle today. And it just broke down the illness and just gave me a good understanding just around those 4 pillars of recovery, which I now use for my one-to-one coaching with mindset, restorative movement, getting quality sleep. Yeah, it was tough work, and I'm not going to say it was easy, but looking back, it's all got me to where I was today. And, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I wouldn't wish it upon your worst enemy. Not that we should have any enemies, because that's just sort of bringing anger into your mind. But I wouldn't wish it upon your worst enemy, but, I'm sort of in a way was grateful that I got through it, because it's made me 100 times better person. I was a bit of a rat bag as well before I got unwell. So, it's definitely brought the best out of me. So, yeah.
That's great to hear. And before we dive more into the things that helped you fully recover, I think I'd love to know more, I'm sure others would as well, a bit more about what this looked like for you when you were, at your sickest. Can you share some of your symptoms, or what did your average days look like?
So I probably reckon when I joined that program, I was, the first 18 months or so, I wasn't moving forwards. If anything, the crashes made you feel worse. I remember getting to crashes like for months, and I remember my headaches just never went away. So it was just like the wake up every day, just knowing that you're going to have like this terrible headache. And I remember getting a spiky ball and my head was hurting so much that try and rub out all the soreness in my head with a spiky ball.
What's a spiky ball?
Yeah, of course that. I've got one. It's like a massage ball.
Okay.
With like rough end. Yeah. So you put it onto like more your muscles and all like that, like your calves and your lower back and all like that. But I just really putting the spiky ball in my head, trying to rub out the headache. And of course that wasn't going to help. And I had terrible gut health as well. I could probably go into about year 3 of the sickness. I spent the whole year in hospital because I had chronic pancreatitis on top of ME/CFS. I had really bad back pain, and I remember I haven't really disclosed this before in any other chats, but I remember wearing a back brace because my back was hurting me so much. And then as well as probably at about when I was at my worst at 18 months, I started getting for the first year I slept like 15 hours a day. Then the second to third year I started getting insomnia, and I remember I didn't sleep for 4 nights in a row, and that's just the cycle of being wired and tired, and it happens. It's very common with ME/CFS recovery that a lot of people will go from sleeping a lot then to years 2 to 3 to not sleeping at all and struggling to sleep. So like I said, the CFS Health program then was able to, because back then I didn't really understand. I just thought, well, why am I not sleeping? This is meant to be an illness where you're meant to be sleeping and tired all the time. But all of a sudden I became wired and tired. I suppose I started developing more anxiety then. And so at least that program then was able to explain why sleep becomes a problem with chronic fatigue recovery. In terms of some other symptoms that I had, they were the main ones. So just backache, and as well, my mental health was getting terrible by the day because I was a go-getter. I would have done anything to go party with my mates or to go for a marathon run, but I was stuck at home, not being able to do anything. And slowly each day, like the anxiety and the depression was just creeping in, and you're seeing your mates going off and having good times, and I suppose you lose mates as well along the way, and then you get a few mates here and there that say, get yourself together sort of thing. A few mates, and you sort of work out which mates are, your good mates who will stand by. But I also, like I said before, like forgiving all those GPs who put me on the merry-go-round, I suppose as well, and letting go of what, I can't control what other people say. And definitely when you let go of because it's very hard to explain what you're going through in the illness. It's so complex, but letting go of what other people say is also like part of the journey and getting better.
I would imagine because you were really active before running marathons and so forth, and then you lost your
Yeah.
ability to exercise. What was that like?
Yeah, it was hard. I actually, journaled this the other day. I remember, this is a good question because I actually wrote this yesterday. Yeah, because I do a lot of I journaled every day when I was recovering. And I remember in that first year, when I got sick at the end of 2016, I'd ran the Melbourne Marathon 2 weeks beforehand. So I've gone from running a 3 hour 30 marathon to then 2 weeks later not being able to move. So, and look, I knew I wasn't so well back then, but I suppose I ran that marathon on probably the last little bit of adrenaline that I had before my body collapsed. But I remember at the start, I was counting down the days because I remember I ran 2 days prior to getting that big virus, which then ended up being chronic fatigue, the secondary chronic. And I remember that I ran. So for the first 100 days, I was counting down the days which I hadn't run. And then also I was worrying about that I was losing fitness. I had put so much training in for years and years, running marathons, going to footy training, and then all of a sudden, something which is out of my hands, I got sick, and I'm losing all this training which I'd done like on a weekly basis. And yeah, I was so cut. I was devastated. I think I counted up to like 3-4 months it had been since I'd last trained, and I was at home and like, I'm losing fitness. This is terrible. And looking back, you need to accept where you are at in your recovery. Looking back, going back to the past or running to the future isn't going to help you. I needed to accept. So I think the day when I just sort of finally let it go and go, right, running's, that was sort of like a past life for the moment. I've got to concentrate where I am now. Yeah, that was definitely a step in the right direction towards recovery. And, with my clients, I get them to visualize that they're running because most of them are coming from a sporting background. And so they can see that for the future, but they've got to make sure where they are now and just focus on that. And, what's done in the past is done. But yeah, looking back, I was cut. I was devastated.
Yeah, I think that's really relatable because I'm sure you've noticed as well. There are a lot of people that, were very active and very fit prior to becoming unwell. And I was the same. I was in the best shape of my life. And it was a really tough thing. I remember like being so sick and trying just to do like just a few squats on my living room floor. And it wasn't even about fitness for me back then. I just wanted to look good. I didn't want to lose all the muscle that I'd worked so hard to get. And it was a really tough thing to accept. And I felt like I could just almost literally just watch the muscle disappear and everything get flabby. And it was all purely superficial and vanity. That's all but it was still tough. It still added to the stress of the situation and the devastation of it all. It was just the confusion and the loss of power and the loss of control over your life. It feels like everything's stripped away all at once. And it's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So you found the CFS Health program and that was a starting point for you. So what happened from there?
So at the same time, then I realized those 4 pillars. At the same time, I also, for my gut health, so I knew from the program, diet was one of the pillars. I went down the Ayurvedic pathway to eat for your own body type, and mine was a Kapha body type for Ayurvedic medicine, and just the diet for a Kapha person resonated with me, and the personality and the functionality of a Kapha person as well. So I was just basically, because I had really bad gut health, so I was just basically eating like a lot of like lentils and beans and cooking my, everything had been cooked because my gut health was really sluggish. So I had all my food cooked. So therefore the digestion process didn't have to be so long. I didn't have to like warm up my food in the digestion process. So there was just easy foods which I could digest, easy foods for the gut to digest because my gut was so sluggish, and that worked really well for me. So, and it was basically anything was going to be slow digestion, e.g. like breads and pastas and meats and all like that. I just probably had meat maybe 10% of my diet. Any foods which were just going to sit there were a no-no. So, and it was just fruit on the side, and I stuck to that diet. Like, the diet is good because it allows the 80-20 rule, so you're allowed to have treats or stuff like that like on the side. But I stuck to it like wholeheartedly. I don't think I ate any like junk food for that 4 years. The same as well. Like I drank a lot before I got unwell, but I didn't touch alcohol at all for that 4 years when I was unwell. I don't think I was in any state to, but I just knew that it wasn't going to be making yourself any better. So that was diet. The program was unreal for restorative movement. It broke down the specifics of restorative movement so good, and it just I know it's very controversial, restorative movement, because, in my own opinion, because it was being prescribed by like GPs, and like the same as me. When my GP told me to rest up for 3 months, this first couple of months. Then he told me, right, just start walking, and you're going to work in a month. And like, as we just know, my body was so unconditioned, I was so unwell. That was not the right foot. That was nowhere near good. Like, that was only making me worse. But the program broke down the restorative movements about when it was okay to move and when it wasn't okay to move, and if I needed to have a rest day, and also like when the big thing as well that was it spelled out, you could do a little bit if you had your everyday symptoms, but you didn't feel like you were about to pass out. You could still do a little bit. So that was really good. Restorative movement, there's so much finer detail. I suppose I've done a couple of posts on Instagram. If your viewers want to just look into the more detailed specifics or it's also in my website as well. Because it is very detailed to go in. Sleep, the program was great for sleep, and I understood why sleep can be a problem with CFS sufferers, and just getting into a sleep routine and just knowing to go to bed at trying to go to bed at 10 o'clock and waking up at 7 or 8 the next morning, and just little tips here and there on the side as well, like, face masks and earplugs and listening to white noise machines and all like that. So it was very good for that. And then the last one is mindset, which I say is 50% of recovery. That is the biggest pillar of recovery. And I suppose looking back, the CFS Health program was great for getting the ball moving for mindset of me, but I had to look a little bit even deeper than that. No, it was great. Got the ball going, and I'm really appreciative for that. But I suppose I had to look a little bit more detail, or maybe when I did that, I wasn't quite ready to acknowledge everything that they said on with the mindset, or maybe I wasn't ready to take it on board. But after that program, I did that. Then I went down the track of going to meditation class. I was starting to feel okay. Maybe after I finished that program, it was probably about 2 years into the illness. And then when I had the illness for 2 years, I could start doing little bits. So I went to meditation classes with my mate a couple of times a week, and I just started learning about the wandering mind and our thoughts, and just basically how our minds function. And that really resonated with me, and just getting to know your thoughts and why we meditate. Like, 'cause a lot of the times, like, people will say you need to meditate, but what's the purpose of meditation? Like, I've got this one client now that I teach meditation, and this is the perfect way. I tell him meditation is like going to football training, and then the game day's lifestyle. So then you've got to incorporate the meditation to when you're going about everyday lifestyle, which is like game training, which is like game day. If you understand what I mean. So I sort of just resonated with it, with what they said at meditation class, and my mate was able to explain it to me a lot better. And that was sort of like, that was like what I really needed to hear with my mindset. And because I was on top of all the other stuff in terms of the trying to get a good sleep pattern, trying to being in tune with restorative movement and diet. But when I started getting able to manage my thoughts, because one thing I was told, like, and which is so true at the meditation classes, that most of the time we have a tornado of thoughts. We don't really have much control over our thoughts, especially our subconscious thoughts. And how many thoughts do we have a day? On average, I think there's 7,200 thoughts a day. 80 to 90% of them are negative. So I'm like, well, it's okay to have these thoughts, these negative thoughts all the time, but it's what I do with them. It's either I feed them or I let them go. And that's what the meditation practice helped. And that's what the meditation teachers were teaching us. And they basically as well said to us, they taught us the same things every week in, week out, because they said, no one's ever going to be perfect at this, but so you need to practice it every day. Not even like a Buddhist monk or anything like that is perfect at this. Everyone's got their wandering mind. Everyone's got negative thoughts, and no one's ever going to be practicing. No one's ever going to be perfect at letting them go all the time. But if you keep practicing and give it your all, and you have your intentions not to go near those negative thoughts, then you'll be able to manage your thoughts and manage your mindset and rewire your brain. And you'll definitely then start having a better positivity outlook on life. And it was funny, when I was able to manage my mindset, not control the mindset, manage the thoughts, then everything else in recovery. So then my sleep all of a sudden got better. I started, of course, having more energy, so I could beef up my restorative movement, and my gut health started getting heaps better as well. So that's why I say mindset is 50% of recovery. But while you're still working on your mindset is also the hardest as well, because you're stuck at home, you've got X amount of energy, you've had this illness now for 2 years, you know what was going on, you're massively depressed, your thought patterns of how you got through life in your previous life were so much different, were so different to how you're trying to refocus your mindset now. It's not going to happen overnight, and it probably took me at least a good 2 years to be able to get from the bottom of my mindset to be able to know my thoughts inside out and to become best mates in my mind. So it wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth the journey.
So it sounds quite similar to my journey, which is one of the reasons I was intrigued to talk to you. It sounds like, focusing on diet, getting in that restorative movement, putting focus on sleep, looking at gut health, working on the mindset and stress, meditation. I mean, those are kind of the pillars of my recovery as well.
Yeah. I'll just while I'm so while you're working on your mindset, though, those three other pillars, even though when my mindset started aligning, when I started aligning my mental, physical and emotional health, so in those 3 to 4 years when I was working with my gut health and my restorative movement, I still say keep chipping away with those baby steps along the way. So if you know what I mean, keep still, just because mindset was like able to boost them up so much, still eat good food, because the mind and the gut connection. While you're still working on your mindset and your recovery, still eat the good food, still keep doing your yoga and your restorative movement, and still keep your bedtime routine for sleep, because those baby steps will then become big steps when you start healing your mindset and start able to manage your thoughts, not so much control your thoughts.
So at what point did you start to think, I think I might be past this, I think I might be recovered, and what did that feel like?
So what happened was, of course, we had this lockdown last year. It was our second lockdown. It went for 100 days, and at the start of that lockdown, I was probably feeling 60% recovered, and I was probably 3 years, 9 months into that journey, and I just started going back to work maybe 1 to 2 days a week as a teacher, casually, and we all of a sudden were told we're in a COVID lockdown. And so then, but that day, I said, right, I've been basically in lockdown for 4 years, but I'm now starting to feel okay. Everything was starting to be aligned. My mindset was starting to become good. I had to get onto medication as well for my mindset because it was such a hellish journey. And it took me a couple of goes to work out which mood medication was good. And I eventually found something which was all right, which just helped take the edge of things. I'd also had a massive operation on my pancreas, a 6-hour operation. I had about 10 operations, but I ended up having during my chronic fatigue recovery, but I ended up having a major one, which was helpful. So everything started coming all right. So all of a sudden, I'm told that I have to stay at home and I could only go in 5K radius, and ended up being 3 to 4 months. So I said to myself, right, I'm starting to do okay. I'm just going to be trying to stick positive while everyone's being negative about being in lockdown at this stage. And I'm not going to watch any TV. I'm just going to start journaling because I journaled every day in my recovery. So then I started getting out all my journal notes and I started documenting my recovery and what worked for me. And also on that first day of lockdown, I started running for the first day. But it was like everything which I had done in my recovery journey for restorative movement. The first run I probably only did was 50 meters. Second run was probably 100 meters. Third run maybe 150 meters. Walk 5 minutes. Run 100 meters. But this was the right time to start running because I was starting to feel 60 to 70%. I was starting to feel okay. And basically, from that 3 months in lockdown, I don't think I really have looked back. And I sort of feel like it took me 3 years and 9 months to get from, I reckon I had a 30% baseline overall health, but crashes which would leave me bedbound for days but I reckon I had a 30% overall baseline in health at my lowest, and it got me to 60% in 3 years, 9 months. And then I think in that 3 months when we were in lockdown, I got from 60% to 90%. So I did the same. What took me in 3 years, 9 months recovery with the baby steps, in 3 months, I did the same amount, 30% consistent in recovery as well. And then basically, I don't think I really have looked back since that lockdown. It's sort of just been getting back to life, then getting back to work 5 days a week as a school teacher, running again, playing back AFL, socialising with friends. But life's got a lot more balance in it and it's a lot more. I've got a lot more flexibility. And look, I got sick a couple of weeks ago, and I had to just rest for 3 days, but that's fine. I need to accept that. And everyone gets sick. So, you get a bit devo when you get sick again after being sick for so long, but that's just part of life. So, yeah, I haven't really looked back since then. And since then, I ran my first marathon in March this year. And, part of that giving back, I raised 10,000 Australian dollars for the charity Chronic Hope, which you might see on Instagram. And it was a big day, and I got about probably all up 30 mates to run it with me at various stages. No one ran the whole run with me. They're not that silly, only me. But it was a great day in getting the message out. And, for me, it wasn't so much about the run. It was about getting the message out and making people aware about ME/CFS, and I think I was successful in that. And we had at my local sporting club, we then had a band play afterwards, and we had a get together, and a bit like Australian culture, everyone had drinks and a barbecue and all like that. So it was great, and I got a lot of local sponsors on board, and yeah, it was a great day. It was a great day. I don't think I ever told anyone this, but I'll tell it on the. But I think there was definitely tears as I ran. They set up the last, so it's 42.2 kilometers. So I think that's 26 miles, and I had a finish line. And when I was running, I saw my my godson, and I just grabbed him for the last, because he was sort of there a little bit in those tough days when I was there, and And I think I started crying, but I don't think I had told. I tried to be a bit of a man's man, but I do cry. And I think I started crying down that last little 100 meters, but that's only natural as well because it was such a rewarding experience. So yeah, it was a good time.
Absolutely incredible. I'm so happy for
Yeah,
you, Chris. You've clearly worked very hard and you've learned a lot and you've put in the work and it's paid off. I'm so
yeah,
happy to see you thriving and doing so well. It's got to just feel incredible.
yeah.
I'm sure I'm so grateful to you telling your story. And I imagine people watching, if they don't already know where to follow you, where can they learn more about your coaching, about what you do now with the MECFS community? How can they find you?
Just basically you can look on the my Instagram page, which is at Healing with Rockdoc 38, and then also my Instagram bio. There's my website as well, which I just try and I just try and break down the illness with those four pillars as simple as I can, without all the endless information, just to try and make it simple for people to understand. Which I suppose that resonated with me because with my recovery. So I'm sort of just putting it out there with hopefully that might be able to in tune people as well. Yeah, if anyone's interested, most of the time if you're stuck in recovery, I'll send a message back and ask me a question or whatever. But yeah, have a look at the website, and I've documented my whole recovery in my Instagram post as well. So.
Amazing. And of course, this is or will all be in the video description. So, people watching, I highly encourage you to check out his stuff. He is just really inspiring and just a really beautiful person and just great energy. And I just love seeing everything you post. You're very real and honest in what you share. And just, I'm so grateful that you're out there providing support to people who are still facing this because we need to work together on this.
Yeah, for sure.
We need all the help we can get.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this today. I'm sure if people watching have questions or comments, you'd be happy to answer them in the comments here as well. And just sincere thanks, Chris, for doing this. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and to share your story with the people on my channel.
Yeah, thank you, Raelan. It was great talking to you as well.
And as always, thank you to the people who are watching. You guys are incredible. The stuff that you share and the comments and all the messages you send me are really just wonderful. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And that's it for today. For more full recovery stories like this, I'll link them up on the screen if you want to check them out. So thank you again, Chris. Thank you everyone who is watching, and I'll see you in the next video.